Hello and welcome to Always an Escrow with Serena Appel and Colby Burchin. Hello, Colby.
Serena, today is a special day. It's like old home day for us. I know how you feel. I know how I feel. Who do we have today, Serena?
We are bringing onto the show Rachael Tartell. She is the daughter of the iconic Upper East Side Block Pharmacy, which was opened from 1974 to 1998. It was a true gem of a store in the heart of New York City with a treasure trove of accessories, high end luxury products, and so much more. She joins us today to talk about her experience growing up in New York City, her parents' celebrity clientele, her background in film, TV, location management, and the vintage Rachael Block collection of hair accessories, which is available to all of us now. Rachael, welcome to our show.
Hi, too. It's so good to see you. Thanks for having me on.
So I'm really excited because our audience gets to know all three of us grew up in Manhattan, Upper East Side. It was definitely rare and special. So we want to kind of give back to our audience a little bit, just an upbringing, because whenever I say I grew up in New York City, people are like, what do you mean you grew up in New York City? It's like a concrete, mass there. So Rachel, come on, give us something, like tell us about your upbringing.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'll say for us, it was so normal, right? And then we tell stories, and people are like, wait, what? You did what? Like, I still don't know how to ride a bike. New York City kid. But, I think I was 7 or 8 because I lived on 72nd and our school was 71st between 5th and Madison. And so I got permission to walk home that young with friends. And I remember it was me, Sasha, I don't know. It was like 4 of us, right? 8 years old, walking down like 72nd Street, that age. And then as we grew up, the city was our playground, right? There were, we didn't have cell phones, parents tracking us on said cell phones. We had after school activities and we make our way home and get home when we got home, whether or not that was walking or taking the bus or getting stuck in traffic for an hour on the bus. It's crazy. Like, I talk about that. And with people that didn't grow up in the city, they're like, what? Like, I still couldn't leave the house at that age. And we were roaming the city free at like 11 o'clock at night.
Serena, Rachel and I started at Birch together. So, we were really young when we started there. And that was, I have to say, that building alone is iconic now because of who owned it.
Oh my God, don't even get me started on that. That whole block, Bill Cosby lived across the street, right? So you have he whose name shall not be mentioned unless you guys want to mention it.
No. No.
You guys Google Birch
Google.
Block and the building,
Right.
and you'll figure.
Right. But
Yeah.
we went to school with some hefty
Yeah,
people too.
I know. And it was so normal, right?
Those days I was friends with Cameron
I
Douglas.
know. So when you would see, say, Michael Douglas at a graduation or whatever, it was so normal. And, and I think also growing up in New York City, you run into, you pass celebrities on the street all the time. Many times, you were like, oh, I know their kids, or and it was the same with my parents' store. But, again, I tell stories to my friends, and they're like, oh, yeah, James Taylor. I'm like, oh, yeah, I hung out with his son once. Or like,
So we have all reunited because of your instant success and definitely the buzziness of the Rachel Block collection and what you're sharing online right now. So everybody, please check out on Instagram. It's at vintage underscore Rachel underscore Block. There's a collection of hair accessories. It's kind of like spurred a lot of conversation because first of all, you found this collection recently and now you're sharing it. And along with that, you're sharing lots of other stories about your upbringing and your parents' store. So let's get to it. Let's get to what really inspired all this? You told us a little bit before that you found the collection. What was that like?
It was magical, really. My parents' store was such an integral part of my childhood, and especially to have a line of hair accessories named after me. My father, like he did with the makeup line, he decided to create a line of hair accessories. The top of the line cosmetic brand lines that they carried, he did that with the hair accessories. So you have Alexandre de Paris, Shige Paris, which if you look up the head designer, which now has his own line, Alexandre de Zari, Nina Ricci, Francois Richard. So he had them, all these fabulous Parisian European designers that top of the line. I was looking at what they have now. I wish my parents still had the store and could like somehow get these in because they're gorgeous. And so are the ones from the 80s and 90s, all the pieces that my father had them curate. So a lot of the hair accessories that I have now, it's engraved on the back, like, the Francois Houchard is made exclusively for Rachel Bloch. Um, so, with that said, I unearthed so many pieces that I hadn't seen for years, which of course triggered wonderful memories. And I had this moment of like, okay, now what? What am I going to do with these? I have way more than I could ever use. Um, and I feel like in talking with people that we've all grown up with and people that I didn't even know that were customers in the store, they still have like their parents still have the pieces that they got from Block Pharmacy. And, they do. And it was, whatever they wore for their sweet 16 or their wedding or their bar and bat mitzvah. So I was like, okay, well, maybe I'll make an Instagram page and just see where this goes. And that way I can uphold the integrity of what my parents worked so hard to create and preserve the memory and share more memories, allow people to share theirs, and then fold into that the hair accessory pieces that I now have, which if people wanted to buy them, they can DM me. We can go from there. I don't have a website yet.
It's really cool. I mean, you're talking about how you're reconnecting with people and people are sharing stories, and we had to have you on to talk about it. I mean, we all really, we were in that neighborhood, right? That was our childhood too. We shared it with you, and it's that moment also that we think about what our parents did and how your parents got to that point. So, can you take us back to the early days of the Tartells and what they were up to that led them to open this like iconic department store on the Upper East?
Going way back, my father was an actor. He went to acting school with some amazing talents. Tyne Daly, Ally McGraw, um, and I'm sure more whose names I can't remember right now. But so he was in that world, right? And then taught speech at AMDA, which is the American Academy of Dramatic Arts. He had I say I'm the second litter. So he was married and had 3 children before and had a family to support. And as we all know, being a working actor and trying to live in New York City is difficult, especially in the 60s and 70s, right? So he went back to school to be a pharmacist. And did that, was working in pharmacies and opened up a store after he and my mom got married. On the corner, it was a smaller store. It was on 73rd and 3rd. And they had that for a couple of years. And then I think the supermarket went out of business and a light bulb went off in my father's head. He already had the clientele of the pharmacy. And they had sold like Mason Pearson brushes, I think the Hofritz knives, the Solgar vitamins. They already had those lines. And so they acquired the supermarket and then went to town. I have pictures of it completely gutted. I mean, they completely reworked the architecture of the space and made it it's like the magic that you feel, when you like walk into Bloomingdale's, right? And you're like, wow, and all the stuff. And it was just kind of that wonderland of, you get out from Third Avenue and you're in this place that everybody knows your name, right? It was like the Cheers of the Upper East Side. And you know, so when they moved into the bigger store, all of because back in the olden days, right? There was no CVS, there was no Walgreens. Everybody had their local pharmacy. So it just made sense that the neighborhood, he was their local pharmacy. So when they moved, everybody followed suit. And then all of the other lines that my parents acquired were just a cherry on top.
And I'm just thinking, okay, so this is kind of like scattered, but like then fast forward, you're like in film and TV location management, and you're going across the country. Like, I don't know, I don't even know what that entails, Rachel, but like, you also had been in and had connection with like an iconic space. So like, how did you even get into that work?
Interestingly, so apple tree, right? So my father was an actor at a very early age. Well, he would take me to my parents. We would see Broadway show after Broadway show after Broadway show, and we were very lucky that one of the customers was able to get us house seats for all these shows, which again I thought was normal. And then I don't know if you two know this, but I think when I was like 9, I started at the neighborhood playhouse acting school, and I did that every Saturday for years, right? So I really followed in my father's footsteps unintentionally. It's just genetics is a wild thing, right? So I had done theater my whole life. I saw my father with this store. I saw the people that came in. It was just this magical creative world. I mean, even the store, my father, like there was a center area, and even though he was the pharmacist and the owner, like it was also his stage. So he got to perform and welcome people and hello and do his accents, because he was a Brooklyn, like, kid raised in the Depression, right? And he spoke with the best British accent ever if he wanted to, and always corrected my speech because he's like, you're not going to talk like a New Yorker, and so then cut to, I go to college. I had to have a real major. So I majored in psychology with a minor in theater. Psychology, to do anything with a psych major, they don't really tell you like to really go, your master's and your doctorate, and anyway. So as a little gap season, I ended up I went to see the 5-year anniversary show of Rent with my mom, and I had listened to the music, but I had never seen the show before. And I'm online, and I'm trying to get my out of college job, and I was like, I grew up in retail, and love theater, so I ended up like working merchandise booths. Like I went while I was online to get tickets for I think it was like the lottery or whatever the show, normal tickets. But I knocked on the theater door and I was like, "Is the person who does merchandise here?" And my friend Robert, who's like a dear friend to this day, he came out, and I was like, "So, you want to hire me?" Like, I mean, a little bit more professional than that. So I was in that world for a while. I loved it. I got to go see all these shows. I made friends with, front of house, back of house, actors in it. It was like a true dream come true. I got to play on the Broadway Show League, Rent softball. I still have my jerseys for 3 years. But with that said, I was working at night. That led me into a friend that I went to college with, moved to the city and was trying to do locations work. Knowing that I grew up in the city, he was like, "Hey, we're looking for an office building," or "Hey, we're looking for that. Do you have any ideas?" And I became a resource. And then by virtue of the fact that I was working at night, I was able to have my days learning locations, which, having the theater background, the psychology background, the New York City background, the other New York City background of like, you don't take no for an answer. And if you can't do this one thing, then you figure it out this way. Very
That's
stubborn.
Resourcefulness,
Yeah, right. But
resilience, resilience, and resourcefulness.
totally.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
my God.
And so it was a perfect fit and I ran with it.
Oh, that's a
So
dream job for me because I think I'm always just intrigued by design, architecture, old, new, all of it. And then I get to be with Colby too sometimes and see like amazing new properties and the real estate that he's working with and this new property, this new client, right, Colbs?
I'm still blown away. Like I don't usually get blown away by most things, but my family and we just went to Vancouver, and oh my God, it was like New York City. Had that same kind of feel, and the architecture. I was just looking up the whole time walking. It was beautiful.
Oh, well, I could go on and on about like, all that how you scout and all that, but let's get back to the collection. Okay. So, what you've uncovered is, really, really super special. There's a lot of stories that go along with it. We'd love to hear, like, kind of give us a little bit of a sprinkle of like celebrities that shopped in your parents' stores, a couple of memories that you've shared already that and maybe you could tease out a few more that are to come on your Instagram feed.
when I started sharing stories, the first one that I shared was Robin Williams, who is just, and I so wish I was there this day. I mean, he's just a magical human, and it was about him not being able to. He came into the store, um, and the folks that worked there were always like, if anybody comes that, whether or not it's like friend or family or celebrity that might need some, extra care. The thing is, the city, right? They would come into the store and no one would bother them, say a word. Nobody was taking. So they let my mom know, and she's like, "Hey, how can I help you?" And he's like, "So, I'm having trouble waking up." So he was in for alarm clocks, which they had. And the deal was he needed to place 3 alarm clocks in different areas throughout his bedroom and set them to surprise times. So, and then he wanted to test them out. So, you can picture my mom doing this with Robin Williams, right? In the store, around throughout the store, they're setting alarm clocks off. You could hear them, and they had to be different alarms. And then it was like the proverbial whack a mole of like running around and trying to turn them off. And he's like, okay, let's try this again. I don't know if I like, let's try that one.
This is
It's
priceless.
amazing. And then, I posted another story about Christopher Reeve, who I just learned as I was researching. They were both like best friends. They were very good friends. And my father was good friends with Christopher. Through the acting world, and it was before this is like my favorite story ever. So it was before he got Superman, obviously, and he was working at. I'm not sure if it was Rusty's at the time. I don't know if you remember. It was Rusty Staub had a restaurant. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So he went across the street. So him and my dad were talking, and then he was like, oh, "Okay, I have to, go make a phone call." And he goes into the phone booth across the street. It's like calls his agent from the phone booth, and hangs up and screams, "Joe!" He called me, "Joe, Joe! I got the part. I'm gonna be Superman." Across Third Avenue. My father was the first one there, and
Ah,
I shared this. The timing of it blows my mind, right? Because it was just that's one of my favorite stories. So of course that was going to be one of the first ones that I share. I just launched this like a month ago ish, and ironically, the Christopher Reeve documentary is coming out like next week about his life. That I didn't plan this timing, but it just seems so like Bashert, right? Like it was just perfect. But some other stories, like Lucille Ball came into the store. I just teased, if you remember the show Electric Company. So
yeah.
there's one of the featured actors on that show came in, and I have a personal funny story with them.
I don't know, Rachel. Did I tell you, Rachel, that my mom had a store, 70s, 80s. It was called Mixed Company was one part of it, and then Randy's Dandies, and it was
I
knickknacks,
remember
and
Randy's Dandies.
that was my mom's
Did
store.
I
And
know that? I feel like at some point we probably.
she sold like toilet paper with the lips on it.
Oh my god.
You name it.
Yeah.
The laces that were squiggly.
I loved those. Okay, I'm sure I probably was in there.
And like, New York, definitely the city, like there's still some shops, but there's so much less of the type of retail like we're talking about that your parents curated and Randy curated and
Yeah, the store like that. I think with the onset of like, you have the big box stores, you have the big box pharmacies, you have Amazon, right? You have the single proprietor store is just non-existent anymore, and if it is, it's few and far between. The customer service, the personal touch to knowing who your customer is, what they like, and like there were times where like people would come and be like, hey, oh my gosh, I left my wallet, like I'll get you tomorrow, and my father was like, okay, I know you, like whatever, we're good,
Normal,
right? And
normal.
right, like house accounts,
right,
right?
yeah, 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 exactly.
I love a house
So
I
account.
love
I
a
kind
house
of I
account.
want to bring it back. Right, bring it back.
I had a house account at Our Place. Is that Our House or Our Place? The
Our place
Oh my gosh, I
Chinese.
remember
Perfect,
that.
Colby.
yeah.
Yeah, we would
I had
do a
a,
Hunan balcony though. Do you remember Hunan
oh
balcony?
yeah, of
Yeah,
course, of course. I can't even imagine going to my local Chinese restaurant right now,
and
Gary
charge
Wu.
it. Yeah,
Say, I say, Bill, can I have a house account? What are you talking about, Colby?
I know.
I'm uplifted. I'm so inspired. I just want to think all about like Cabbage Patch Kids for the rest of the day. I don't know.
So I bought my son a Cabbage Patch Kid when he was like 2 or 3, baby Alan, and I played with it more than he did.
We bought it for our daughter. She didn't.
There was a Cabbage Patch Kids store that we grew up with. Do you guys remember that? I mean,
Oh
FAO
yeah,
Schwartz, and then
Mary
like,
Arnold
you
though.
know,
Mary Arnold
yeah,
was where I
okay.
remember it was like all our parents were online when they first came out to
Oh
get
yeah.
the Cabbage Patch, the original Cabbage Patch. They had to have it first.
Mary Arnold is still around, still somewhere that I go to. They relocated, but they're on Lexington and they're still fabulous and like, they're stocked with the best for kids and art and all of it. Games, all of it. I still love supporting them, right? It's like,
It's the small business rather than shopping on Amazon, which I think most people it's easy, right? But then you don't get that little extra this and that. Yeah, I was looking when I started this all, I started researching, trying to find images of our neighborhood from the 80s and 90s. And I'm realizing like all I looked up like King Dragon and Rusty's and my parents' store. What else was there? Melons is still there. Greek Village on Lexington, which was under that ice skating. Do you remember the ice skating on the second floor?
oh yeah, definitely. Yep, it's like a steakhouse now. And I was like, I went out for dinner there. I was like, you guys, I used to go ice skating
I mean,
upstairs.
how
Like,
did they even
remember
do that?
that?
Like the buildings today would never be able to hold like an ice rink on the second floor of a walk up. Oh, so moral of the story is I think because there were no cell phones and people were just taking photos with cameras. Um, I even checked my film friends, being like, okay, because back in the olden days when we used to scout, it was with film. That's how I started, and then we slowly switched to digital. But the digitalization of all of our neighborhoods is so few and far between. Like you can look at tax records, but it doesn't have. It has from like the on top of the storefronts and up of the addresses, but not the
Street
actual
level.
street level. Yeah, so um,
And
even
I feel like
restaurants,
that
it's like
that part of town though, I felt like that always was like filmed. Like they would shut down Third Avenue because it looked so
right.
pretty there.
Probably more than once. A few shows had approached my parents to use their store as a filming location, and they were like, no.
Yeah.
Oh,
Ah.
Yeah.
That would have been
Well,
cool. They were
yeah.
scouted.
Oh gosh, yeah. I mean, but it was just, with the pharmacy, and if people were, needed something first
Right,
and
they couldn't shut
foremost,
down.
right? It would just be
Yeah.
too hard, especially for more than one day. And quite honestly, and I know what we pay people to use their properties for filming. And always with
Mhm.
a business, we want to at least cover. We have them prove what their what their expenses are, or what their sales are through a course of the few years in that time, so we can match it and give a little extra. And I think at that point it was most likely out of budget to cover anything, so it was just not worth it, um, to them, unfortunately, because now it's like, I hindsight, right? I wish I had taken more pictures.
Of
And I think
course.
about that
Of
throughout
course.
our whole childhood. I had pictures of
Yeah.
sleepaway camp, but never, you know, did we bring
The
ours
year
to
during the
school?
year.
No, like we have our yearbooks. Um,
Aw, I know.
That's the only difference nowadays. Like the pictures are so
so
now,
now,
where back
Yeah.
then, I guess we appreciated life more
right?
and no pictures. Today, you're kind of appreciating it, but you're
Document.
so much into the picture.
Yeah, and I think there's so much undocumentation of our childhoods that I think now I'm overcompensating, where I'm like, I want my, like, I want to remember this, so it's like, let me take a picture so I can have it, or have this space, or have this memory, um, because there's like everything else. It's like mind photos.
Yes, exactly. And like bringing that to life. Okay, Rachel, let's see what you have from the
So
collection to show us.
this is my latest drop. So I love this, which is, let's see if you can see. It's like the most adorable elephant barrette with
Oh,
Glittery
glittery. I mean, who
barrette.
doesn't love glitter and rhinestones in
Mhm.
an elephant? We have these, which, I mean, how timeless is that? This is the Rachel block. You see that?
Oh my gosh.
Wait, here's
Okay,
a
so
bigger one.
when Rachel's showing us these red, bright
Oh yeah.
red barrettes
So this is the.
with little gold bows at the top of them,
Mm,
and they are just vibrant. And I mean, those are comb
correct.
barrettes that
You know.
that's exactly what I
Yeah.
remember my mom wearing.
And then we've got this. These haven't been released yet, but I love these. Everybody loves a good tortoise shell, and especially a barrette,
Oh
right?
my God, a
Here, let me
clip.
flip that. So this, which is a tortoise shell, it's like a bow. Just remember in the '90s, bows with like a rhinestone moon.
I have to
Or
say that looks timeless.
timeless, right?
Timeless.
Let's see. This is one of my favorites. This is released now. This is Alexandra de Paris, but this is heavy. It's got weight, right? It's not.
Oh
It's
wow, metal.
metal, and
Oh, it's a metal, another metal comb
beautiful.
with
barrette.
like stones. I don't even know how to explain
Comb.
that.
Oh, oh my gosh, that is so timeless too. That look is just like
Yeah. Oh, and this one. Okay, so this has. So this is another comb that, and you can put it up on the side of your hair, or you can do a bun and put it, in the back. So it just adds a little zhuzh. Um, but here's another one, which I'll show you the back. This is a Francois Richard, and it's a comb. It's a larger comb, and then the back, you can see. I don't know. Let's see. Um,
Yep.
it says made exclusively for Rachel Block.
Wow.
And there's
yes,
little, let's see, let me try to describe the pearls on the top that are sort of webbed into
beautiful, like scalloped.
scalloped. Yes, that's the word.
Yeah, at the top
Yeah.
of the comb.
So
Oh, gorgeous.
yeah, these, I mean, and they're all, that's the thing, they're all brand new and pristine, but despite the fact that they're from the 80s and 90s, they're classic,
Right? You kind of like step up your look for the
right?
night with the. Oh, look
Right?
at that bright red is
Let's see.
just so chic,
Yeah.
fun, and again, all that's coming back. It's all
It's all
coming
coming
back.
back,
These
and you don't even, you can do one or two on the other side. It really,
Not to mention this is such a discussion. It's a talk being piece as well, right? It'll people will strike up conversation about it, because really you're only getting it straight from the source right now. So that's fun too.
Serena, touching on the quality, Rachel, the quality that those clips look like as opposed to today, things are made so
Yeah.
Cheaply, plastic. There's durability
Oh,
in what you
totally.
just showed
Totally.
us.
And they're all
Yeah,
handmade. That's why, they're
yeah.
handmade
Oh,
by people who aren't just on an assembly line. It's the people that this is their craft and they take pride in what they create. You really can't find that. I don't know any stores in the US that sell these now. And to my knowledge, like this right here, like this is the only one that I have of this piece, and to my knowledge, I think it's the only one that exists in the whole world at this point, which
yeah.
is like wild, right? You have a piece of history. If you're not a New Yorker, you can be like, hey, guess what? Look what I have. And if you are, you remember.
I feel like there's a conversation with the Met Costume Institute that you should just just show them, and it's definitely a time capsule, and it's like such amazing look at what accessories looked like in that era, and how they were made, and and it's just like these are the times when it's like, I mean, this is for people to wear, but it's also for a incredible history lesson.
That's what I'm trying to create and sharing my stories too. It's like you're having a piece of somebody's memories and history, and it's not just that barrette that you got at CVS because you needed to put your hair up. There's a story behind each piece and behind the world, behind the world that this was all in.
I just love talking about New York with you. I love being with you both and reminiscing. Thank you so much for
Thank you
joining
for having
us.
me on. This has
And
been such a joy talking with
Rachel, like the highlight of my month right now. This is
like months, maybe year, maybe like I love this.
Serena
Can we
knows
do
what
this
the
again?
piece.
Just I wish we had a glass of wine and
done. We're coming back for more because I know that you have so much more to share and
Yeah.
so much that you're working on. And we're going to revisit. And we want everybody to follow you. Please check out vintage_Rachel. And that is RACHAEL_block, BLOCK. And the collection of hair accessories that are one of a kind, that are in pristine condition, and that really are telling a story and carrying on this legacy of the Block Pharmacy. And thank
more
you again.
stories, I promise. Like lots more stories mixed in.
Yay!
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rachel.
Both.